Okay, we're going to begin the meeting of the TCP Building Design Committee, and I will just read a few remarks from the agenda. Bear with me. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. And at the time of this agenda, all facilities are currently open on a limited basis to the public. I will interject that I believe that has changed since we issued this agenda. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link which was included on the agenda, or from a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID 884-9707-5939 and then the pound sign. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. I will now call the roll. I do not see anybody else waiting to get in, so. Brian Leighton.
Present.
Matthew Allison.
I'm here.
Michael Ray Jeffries.
I'm here.
And I am also here. And I guess I'll call you too. Tom Lamb.
Hi.
And Ed.
Good evening.
Just mic check. So I will move to the first agenda item. Is there any public comments from the public? Okay. Is there any public comments from the board, from the committee? I have one. We have, at the risk of putting him on the spot, we have Mr. Hogue here this evening. John has stepped up and expressed an interest in joining the committee and has submitted a talent bank form to the select board. And I believe they'll be considering that early in the new year, but I invited John to attend this evening, and here he is. So welcome, John. Thank you for your interest.
Well, thank you for having me.
Any other, I don't want to cut anybody off. Dave Passios, we're in public discussion from the committee if you have anything. Doesn't sound like it. Okay. We will move on to an update from the design team. I will give Tom and Ed the floor.
Yeah, I'm going to start first, and just to summarize, want to brief the committee on the different meetings we had last week with almost all of the different departments in the town, and what we went through. And the second item is want to touch base on finally we have a toilet count. I spent this afternoon counting toilets. It's really exciting. And I want to share the experience with the committee. I don't want to hawk it, and then we have a list of questions, and I don't anticipate the decisions to be made tonight, but some of the decisions, should it be part of the construction cost or should it be part of the operational cost? So we'll quickly go over that questionnaire, and then the the last piece, we have some images of what we think the different departmental entries, different exterior entrance, just to create some sort of signage, some sort of a new branding. I'd like to share that with the committee. Again, that's just preliminary thoughts, and so those are the items we like to quickly go through. And around 7:10 or so, I have to go to a birthday dinner. I'm turning 29 today, so my family wants to celebrate. So I want to apologize.
That's all right. I have to leave around 7 myself, so hopefully
Okay.
we can roll.
Yeah, again, most of the information is so that we can explain it, so the committee can kind of think about it, and we can do some explanation and probably need further discussions. That said, I'm going to start the screen share.
Oh yeah, let me allow that. Sorry, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, do you see a list of questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just forwarded, this is a document that's going to evolve, that's going to change. It's a working document. And so we had a series of 30 minutes to an hour long meetings, Zoom meetings with the different departments. The only departments we haven't talked to is the assessor's office, the conservation board, the town clerk, and the finance departments. Tomorrow we're going to talk to Matt Marrow and Karen Bruchu. So as a summary, so what we went through with the group essentially was the different, as you see in this chart, we propose these are different types of materials, finishes, locking mechanism in the departments, in the individual spaces, different lighting. We asked them about if there's any fixed case work, fixed counters. For example, the transaction counters, that's going to be custom millwork because it's something that really should be built into the wall. And so far, there are some maybe, as far as the architectural layout, there really isn't any substantial change. One wall may have to move 6 inches here or there. We look at maybe moving a door from one wall to the other to make it more efficient. So the discussions that will follow after this is really if there's a certain standard that the committee wants or the town wants to have regarding finishes. And so what we're going to do is after we finish meeting, or at least after the meeting tomorrow, we're going to update the floor plans and add more details and send it back for the different town representatives to make sure that we got all the information right, and to also submit to the committee for review. So we anticipate by the end of this week we should have that those drawings ready. So, but I'd like to just go on to the next sheet, which is really, there are some questions that we want to confirm with the committee because we are in the process of pulling our documents together to send it to our cost estimator next week, so he can start putting the cost estimate together. So I'll just quickly go over some of the points, and again, if there's no answer, we can just exchange email to get the responses. So from the civil engineering standpoint, they are asking about the limit of work regarding where does the sidewalk, pavement, where does it start and stop? Where's the construction limits. Another one is what level of degradation would warrant pavement? I mean, it's an existing facility, so not everything is perfect. So where do we make the judgment call if it is something existing? Should we replace it, repair it? And or a third question is there a desire to mill or overlay the pavement around the building to make it look a brand new project, even though it's an existing building?
Tom, could I cut in for a second?
Please.
Just a quick question on the second bullet. Are there ramifications on how much you get into the sidewalks and curbs and stuff in regards to triggering ADA compliance?
Oh, that one I need to get back to you. Good question.
That's
I
fine.
think I could probably answer that question.
Yeah, actually, Greg's probably familiar with it.
Well, I'll answer it, with my hat, Greg Roy's hat on, but I certainly don't want to speak for Meridian Associates. But my opinion would be that we're going to need to touch as much sidewalk as is required to make sure we have the required accessible routes to the building. So, you're not going to be able, it's not a matter of if you redo a sidewalk, then you have to bring it up to standard. In my opinion, we're going to have to redo whatever sidewalk we need to make sure we have the prerequisite accessible routes to the building.
That makes total sense.
If I could just add to the first bullet to elaborate on that question a little more. When we did the land survey, we did 12 acres of survey, and which went up down to Mass Ave, and it included the little building that's right near Mass Ave. That was part of the survey. So part of Meridian's question on the first bullet is you want their recommendations as well as the cost estimate to include all the repairs needed to all the civil work, the pavement, the curbs, the sidewalks, all the way down to Mass Ave, or do you want to keep it more localized directly to the TCP building?
Yeah, I could probably comment a little. So the road from Mass Ave into the site was well, now that I'm saying that, maybe we didn't pave that. I'm second
Yeah,
guessing
Greg,
myself.
I think you did all the way from 2A all the way.
Yeah,
through
we
Oak
did, didn't we?
Avenue.
We paved
Yes,
it. We
yes.
paved it with a school project. So that's pretty new. So, I mean, this is obviously a committee question, but in my view, I think we probably are looking at a limited scope. We probably want to, I mean, we don't want to do things that are going to make it look like an eyesore. If, I don't think we want to grab, I don't think there's appetite for grabbing additional pavement and making it part of this project. I think we want to present to the town what is required to achieve the project goal. If we're going to leave, if redoing the handicap entrances to the building means that we're going to leave 50 feet of old, means we could leave 50 feet of old concrete in front of TCP. Yeah, well, maybe we'd replace that, but I don't think we'd want to go, down the road a piece and replace curbing or whatever.
It'd always be an add-on.
Yeah, that's true. Greg, if I could comment, I was a little bit late because I got engrossed in all the things that Tom sent to us at the last minute. Didn't
That's okay.
realize what time it was. But I was actually in the traffic study just before I realized what time it was. And I'm guessing what triggered that question is the fact that there are issues of missing things on the driveway coming in from 2A, such as sidewalks, et cetera. And I agree. I don't think this project is responsible for bringing that, upgrading that. I think that's complete streets or something, as another project. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah, I think it's, in my view, I'd summarize it by saying we want to deal with the parking for this building. and accessible and routes from that parking to the building. So, you know, sidewalks surrounding the building, obviously the improvements to the parking area that are required to make the parking plan that we need a reality. And, you know,
All the fire exits too, you'd want to make sure that those are in good shape.
absolutely. Yeah, stuff like that, things to bring it up into current code, but not extra just because we're doing a project is my thought.
And if I can also contribute here, the
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand there, sir. Go
all
ahead.
right. So we recently were approved for some funding to make the sidewalks handicap accessible. And I believe it brings it, in light of this project, it comes like right up to the building, basically. So if you check in with the town manager, she has the exact point that the approved work stops at for you to be able to pick it up at.
Great point.
Okay.
Okay. I'll let you keep going there, Tom.
So what we would propose is to have our civil engineers marked up what they think is the scope and then send it back to the committee to verify. And we will confirm with Heather regarding what that grant or what that scope of work is before we send it.
Yeah, I think picture's worth 1,000 words. I think that's probably a good idea.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
So in light of all the recent conversations in different groups that have come on this project recently, the property line came up in question again. And I'm wondering if it's possible that we could squeeze an A&R out of this process through the civil engineering.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Matt. Is that something you could go back to Meridian and take a look at?
What was the question again? The property?
Tom, so there's been discussion throughout the years of putting this building on its own separate parcel.
Mhm.
And it's never been, to my knowledge, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably have your nose on this one a little bit more than I do, but it's never been fully vetted by a surveyor, engineering firm.
No,
So-
I've seen plenty of different layouts and lines on paper with numbers, but nothing
Yeah.
formal.
So I'm not asking for, I don't think, anyway, I'm asking for a formal plan, but just maybe a quick cursory review and maybe a sketch or something that shows, you know, if it can be done and if it can, how it might look. Is that what you're after, Matt?
Well, I actually want to have a recorded parcel delineation.
I get that. I guess what I'm saying is precursor to that discussion would be at least to have someone advise us on do a zoning scrub and make sure that it's feasible, and if it is, how it might look.
Well, the zoning scrub started when we did the village center district zoning. We
Yeah.
included that portion without having a property line. That area is shaded, so that was the intent. So that for the potential reuse of the Passios building would have the VCD zoning.
Yeah, okay.
And Greg, too, as we discussed the other day, town meeting, when it accepted the building from the school, also accepted a portion of the school complex area, but it was never identified specifically. So there's been a town meeting vote to separate a piece of property with the Passios, and it was never followed through with
Right.
formally.
Well, I can talk to Meridian because when they did the land survey, they were looking at all the property lines in that 12 acres they surveyed and find out what they discovered while doing that.
Yeah,
But you also want to find out.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'll ask them about their property line survey and what they found out doing that. But you also want to find out, can you give the TCP building its own set of property lines?
Yeah,
And it would be owned by the town
right.
versus
Yeah,
the school.
it's more a care and custody issue than it is anything else. It's all going to be owned by the town, but
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of people that feel, including myself, that the Passios building should be sitting on its own plot of land.
Mhm. Okay, we'll talk to them about that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay, so
Back to you.
we'll move on to the architectural aspects. The first group of questions is about the exterior, and I think we already had a lot of discussions. We just want to either as a reminder or a confirmation. So we did look at all the windows, and a lot of the windows have been replaced, but then there are some windows that still need to be repaired. So our understanding is we're limiting the windows work to what needs to be done. The second aspect on the exterior openings is there are a lot of existing classroom windows that go outside because that was required for second means of egress when it was a classroom. But in most cases, or 90% of the new spaces, we do not require that as a door. So we had a discussion in the past that we're going to replace the door opening with, turn it into a window of some sort and fill it with insulated glass. And then the third aspect is the roof. It is our understanding is that that needs to be replaced, and all the accessories such as flashing and anything that needs to put a new roof in, we will do that, and that's how we're going to price that component.
Tom,
Could I just,
go ahead, Greg.
well, I was gonna maybe ask if John could comment on that, on the roof.
So the roof dates to, I believe 86. And then around 2012, we reseamed to try to buy some time before this project to get started. So yeah, you're at replace the roof time.
We're at the end of the life. Okay.
Yeah, and that's our recommendation as well, is to replace the entire roof.
Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm good. What was just said is exactly what I was going to mention.
Okay. Sorry to steal your thunder.
No, that's all right.
All right. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so the interior this is more which bucket of cost we need to put in. So the first group of questions, it's more about furniture and furnishings. Obviously, our estimator is going to, the big piece is the construction budget. But has there been any discussions with the town if the desk and file cabinets and everything and chairs are being moved from their current offices to the new building? Or is it going to be brand new? And the rest is also related to, would it be provided by the owner, or when it goes to construction, will it be part of the construction cost? So it starts with furniture, finishes, furnishings, window coverings like shades, blinds, toilet accessories, signage, security systems. If we use a lot of office furniture system, cubicles, will it be funded separately by the town, or will most of the stuff, the furniture, be reused?
I personally would hope the furniture would be reused, but I think the bullet with the security camera, panic devices, IT cabling, et cetera, it's virtually non-existent in that building. So I think that's going to be part of the project. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels.
I concur with what you just said.
Same.
Yeah, because they're also,
I
I'm sorry.
think I concur too. I guess just to answer your initial question, I don't know if we've done much. Well, I don't think this committee has discussed it. I'm not sure if there's an expectation, you know, other than what Dave Passios just said, but in my view, we reuse as much as we can. We take an inventory of what we need and we limit what we buy to what we, need it to furnish the new space.
I think that's my
Um,
expectation as well.
Greg,
Okay.
does that relate to a contingency for furniture within the budget for the project?
Say that again?
Having a contingency budget for furniture for that item that you just described, the needs beyond reuse of existing.
Well, I guess
Does
it
that
could be a
make sense?
contingency. I guess what I'm saying is if we know we need something for the new space and we don't already own it, and or we own something that won't work in the new space for whatever reason, I think that should be in the project. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but some of these things we're not going to know until we start to get to the tail end of the project. And I guess it's a
I see what you're
change
saying.
order type of thing, maybe, rather than a
Well-
contingency by itself.
Well, yeah, I don't know, Dave, because I mean, we can't get going with a project and get to the end of the project and be ready to move in and then say, oh, shoot, we need $250,000 worth of furniture that we didn't plan for,
Right, so if you have it in there either as specifically as furniture or a contingency for unforeseen, which is going to probably be in there anyway.
We'll have contingencies for sure.
Right.
We'll have owners contingencies and contingencies to the contingencies.
So,
Uh,
so
yeah.
at this point, I want to ask, are we all aware of bid alternates? Base
Yeah, I
bid?
was gonna
bid
say that
alternate?
too.
There you go.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think that, so base bid is the bare bones. You probably can describe it better than I can, but there's bid alternates for things that are kind of like a wish list or would be nice to have, but we don't really have to. And well, we know it might be expensive, and if it pushes us over, then that whole project is likely not going to pass town meeting. You can propose bid alternates, like if we wanted to go ahead and say we wanted the VCT flooring, but a bid alternate might be to LVT flooring, which is more than twice as much. There's those kinds of things in this kind of a project. So like the security system, the cameras and whatnot, that could be like a bid alternate, but I wouldn't suggest that specific thing. There's just an example.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Matt. And I mean, that's certainly something you could do with furnishings. You could, but I think to answer the question, I think definitely is the base bid. We're looking for to reuse as much as we have and only buy what we need for the building. My mind just wandered. I lost my second train of thought. But yeah, I guess if there's an opportunity to get some alternates for wish list items in the package, Tom, then if we get a great bid and we come in under what the town meeting ends up funding, then maybe we could add some of those back in. Or if we do an exceptionally good job and we end up with tons of contingency left, that things you can start to look to add back in too.
Yeah, so one suggestion I have too is to the users, they know what they need, or maybe some of their desks are falling apart. So if we may reach out to them and say, well, we assume that you are moving everything over to the new space, and do you anticipate you might need a couple chairs? I mean, at least we'll have a sense of what their needs are, and then we can talk to a furniture consultant and put a contingency. At least we can put an allowance of say 15,000-20,000 or whatever, depending on what we think their current need is.
Right.
So the only thing is for public spaces like the meeting rooms and the conference rooms, do we anticipate we can move things from Ritter or from Town Hall to the Passios building?
I question whether there's enough material to accommodate those rooms.
Yeah. Well, let me call on Jeffries here. He's got his hand raised.
Yeah, no, I concur with the discussion on that approach. I had my hand raised a little longer than for a little bit, but Tom's, I think, answer is the right way, is to reach out to those departments and with the expectation that all their furniture is going to come with them, and to identify, you know, if there's someone who needs more stuff. I do think that I think the general framework, though, to answer the question, is that most of this is going to be funded from the same budget line item. I don't see that there's going to be multiple line items that's going to provide this funding. So, you know, I think where we're going to see the more need here within your list is the storage area, because I think we're trying a different approach with that. So we'll probably need to really fully absorb some costs for most things, I think, in that area being new. And then I don't have an answer on IT. I'm not sure how much PAC contributes to this. I don't know if you have an answer to that, or.
Well, thanks, Michael. That's exactly what that's exactly the train of thought that I was missing, is that I think that there's no other bucket that we're pulling money from for this project, where we need to get the whole thing in the estimate and bring the number to town meeting. PAC, though, correct me if I'm wrong, PAC has money to outfit their space. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about, you know, lighting and all that, you know, all that kind of stuff for PAC, studio space and that kind of thing.
Now, the bulk of the back wing is going to be school uses. Those are just going to be basic gross spaces, aren't they? And then the school will occupy it with whatever they need. Is that a good assumption, or is that not?
You mean the extended care, extended day?
Correct.
So for those, yeah, I think from the furnishing standpoint, we expect them to move what they have over, and architecturally, because of the work we are doing with the HVAC, they're going to have new ceilings and new lights. But then, because again it's used by students, we're going to keep the CMU walls and put a new fresh coat of paint. Even keep the flooring the way it is. Try to reduce the cost, but we can do an ad alternate to replace the flooring of that area. One of the things that we need to discuss with the committee is we started identifying a list of alternates, or the bid alternates that Matthew mentioned. We need to have a discussion about that, but we have some ideas already, but we want to keep the base low.
This is Ed. I just have a question. We're talking about the alternates and the cost estimating in town meeting, just so it'll be helpful for our in-house cost estimator. I understand the town, at the end, we provide the design development drawings in the final report. You're going to have a funding article for the construction of this project, which will also include the soft costs, the final design costs, and all of those types of things. Are you going to go with just, say if the numbers, hard costs and soft costs of 7 million, that's what you would ask the town to fund? Is it bid alternates, add alternates? You really don't get into that until you're doing construction documents, because there'll be more refined cost estimates along the way. You'll be really looking at the design during the construction document phase. And that's when we would work with the town to develop the alternate bid items. If you think the project is growing too much, like with the floor tile, for example, maybe the base bid is the VCT, that's in the construction document, but you have an add alternate for the LVT. And I'm sure you know, you have to pick the alternates in order. You can't just decide after the bids are open, you want number 3 and number 1. You have to start off with 1, pick 2 to get to 3. So I'm just asking this question about the bid alternates as it relates to what you're going to ask for a town meeting. If you're just asking for one number meeting to fund the project, our cost estimate needs to work towards that one number. So maybe we're picking a middle of a road material in this stage we're in now to put into the cost estimate. And then when you get into final design, that's where we sort through the add alternates, the deduct alternates.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Brian, go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. I had a question about the flooring. Tom had mentioned potentially keeping the same flooring. I feel like there was a concern of the flooring, whether it was like asbestos potentially. Did all the flooring need to be replaced?
That's actually one of my questions. It's on the bottom of the list, the hazmat removal. There is a lot of asbestos in the building, not only the flooring, but it's in some of the paint, it's in insulation. And one of our questions, which will affect the cost estimate, do you want the building to be 100% abated of asbestos, even if you're not touching a room? So the room has asbestos floor tile, but we're not doing anything in that room. You don't have to remove it. The town already has a mitigation plan to deal with the tile if it breaks, how to remove it, how to deal with that. So one of our questions is, do you want us to build in a cost 100% asbestos abatement for the whole building, or just asbestos abatement where we're touching something in the building as part of the new work?
I don't think
Yeah,
anybody
well,
wants to touch that question.
Yeah, I guess I had assumed that we would abate it. But that's a great question.
Well, we could get a cost of what it costs just to do our project, and then what it would cost to do the whole building, and then make the decision.
Because you have the same issue with lead paint. The lead paint, because it's not a residential building, it's not like if you have lead paint in a house or a rental property, it's different. So there's a lot of lead paint in the building on all different surfaces. So if we replacing a door frame as part of this project, has lead paint on it, that's when it gets removed. But if we're not touching another door frame at all in another part of the building that has lead paint, you don't have to touch it. And I don't think you want to chase the lead paint unless you want to. If you're not touching an item with lead paint, unless you want to, you don't need to abate the lead paint.
I'm inclined to offer some to wade into this one a little bit. So I would suggest that any space that children are in, for sure, no lead paint and no asbestos. And I would say that any space that staff are working in should not have asbestos in it. But everywhere else, places that are transitionally used, any areas that aren't occupied for 8 hours a day or by children, I think it's going to prove to be cost effective to leave in place. But I mean, I think that as a framework, I would like to see that the workspaces and the children's spaces are free of asbestos and free of asbestos as a minimum.
I would agree
I
with
think
the
lead is a
suggestion.
risk for adults.
Okay, thank you. Matt had his hand up. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I certainly don't know everything about the whole thing, but I do understand that when it comes time to tear the building down, they'll have to do a hazardous material survey and remove it separately from the deconstruction. Is that correct?
If you were to demo the entire building, everything would be abated before they would demo the building, except the lead. They typically, if something has lead paint on it, they just wrap it up in plastic sheets and throw it in a dumpster. The asbestos is different. But you're correct. They'd have to abate everything if they were to completely demolish the building.
All right, so then I would recommend that we go ahead and abate all the asbestos and all the lead paint in the areas that are intended to be habitated. That seems like a no-brainer to me, and it would cover all the costs right now, and we wouldn't have to pay an increased cost for it in the future.
Yeah, I think I agree. You know, we're gonna be putting, you know, I know we don't have a number here, but let's just say a lot of money into this building. I think it'd be a shame to not put another couple $100,000 into it and leave some, you know, some dangling hazmat in there that we could otherwise, especially like's been suggested in the occupied spaces, that where it would be a, you know, more onerous to abate it in the future. I guess the only other thing I was thinking is, so you're gonna basically completely touch the town offices wing. And we're gonna be doing quite a bit of work in the middle section of the building. I guess it's the wing that probably is gonna maybe get by with the least amount of work is the part where the students are gonna be in the back. So, and to Mr. Jeffrey's point, I mean, it seems, you know, it seems like that should be our priority in terms of asbestos and hazmat abatement. So it seems to me like, all things considered, that with the exception of maybe some storage rooms and things, if we're not going to touch finishes and things, it seems like we're looking at a, you know, almost wholesale abatement.
Yeah, in the front basically is the kitchen, the big meeting room, and the gymnasium.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I would say, you know, when you touch any classroom, yeah, you go in the cove base all around the classroom, the glue that holds the cove base on, all the flooring. It's all 70 years old. It'll be 70 years old before this project launches.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend leaving it, take it out.
Yeah. We're putting this much investment. Seems like the, I don't know. It just seems to me to be the right thing to do, to just get rid of it.
I agree, even though I'm not on the committee yet. That's what I would do. I'm a townsperson, you know, makes sense to do it now.
Yeah, it just seems like
agree. I think
if
it's a
people,
selling point.
sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Sorry, I agree. I think it's a selling point too
Yeah.
to the community.
Yeah, I think if we stood up there and someone asked the question, well, are you getting rid of everything? And we say no, I just that would go over well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And when would it get done? 40 years, 50 years from now?
Right. And to Matt Allison's point, you know, well, the building does have a life expect. I mean, we're gonna give it some more life here, presumably, but it's still gonna have a life expectancy, and it's a cost that you'd have to do down the road if you're ever, you know, if and when you get to that, and it's never gonna get cheaper. So,
Absolutely.
seems like it makes sense. You had another question though, Tom, about
No, will be.
Ed, sorry, about whether or not we're going to bring one number to town meeting. Yeah, I don't think we can thinking about that as you were talking, add alternates to town meeting. I think we have to have one number. We're asking for X dollars, and we need to make sure we have the appropriate contingencies in that number so that when we get real bids, we're going to be able to do it for that number. And I think, but I think before we bid it, we can put together the priority list of nice to haves. And if we end up getting a good, you know, bidding this thing in a climate better than today, when construction costs aren't as high or whatever, and we get good bids and we have room in the budget, then we could maybe look to add some of those things back in, or not, or pass them on to the back to the tax base, which is what we did at the middle high school. We did add alternates, but we passed, you know, several $1 million of unspent. You know, we didn't spend it. So we have, the committee will have decision to make if that ends up being the case. But it's a good problem to have. If you're your budget, you have a lot and you have extra money to spend.
So I guess what would help us, it would help Tom and the cost estimator and the team on when it comes to finishes. And again, looking at the flooring cost, because it's right on us. as we go through design development and the cost estimate, should we be basing the cost estimate on a middle of the road product for pricing versus the $3.50 per square foot LVT? Should we stick with the VCT for this cost estimate that you would bring to town meeting and sort out we'd have to sort out the time for add alternates and deduct alternates is when you're in the CD phase, not in the phase we're in now. So I guess getting that number that you need to go to town meeting, should we pick the middle of the road product at this point or price at this point and go from there with it?
Well, one suggestion I have is we still offer these, the way the cost estimator is doing the numbers, he will have X square feet of VCT or flooring. So
No.
if we identify at this point, it's not like we need to do additional documentation. So we can look at the whole big picture and say, well, we think that the town will have appetite for X dollars, and so we may decide just to eliminate it before we we put the final report together. At least you'll have a chance, or we do some due diligence and say, well, it's going to bump the numbers up another 50 grand, or that type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I guess what I envisioned was maybe on some of these more significant things like wearing surfaces like floors and countertops and bathrooms and that kind of thing that are going to take a lot of abuse. I guess I'd be really interested in hearing and getting even just a brief analysis from your team, Tom and Ed, about, okay, if you spend $3.50, if you spend, I don't know what the numbers are, but if you spend $2 a square foot on flooring, you might expect it to last this long.
Mhm.
If you spend $3.50 a square foot, you might expect it to last, this long.
Mhm.
And then have the cost difference so that we as a committee can start to hone in and say, okay, well, listen, for an extra, $30,000 in floor, you get an extra 10 years of use. Well, that might be, I'm just making these numbers up. You know what I'm saying? But to be able to make some what's the word I'm looking for? I guess O&M type judgments or what's the word I'm looking for?
Life cycle cost.
Yeah, life cycle cost decisions
Yeah.
would be good if it's not, if it's not a lot of extra energy.
Yeah, we'll provide. That makes a lot of sense.
Dave Passios.
Yeah, and I agree with what you just said, and the thing in the back of my mind as we've been talking about these finishes is that especially high traffic areas, just specifically talking about floors, we may want to go with the main corridors with something that's going to hold up a lot better than the office areas. So I think that's an assumption that the architects, I feel, should just go ahead and make in the cost estimating. And then if we need to adjust that, we can adjust that when we get into the next phase.
Right, I agree. Okay.
And a couple of other things. One is regarding transaction windows. Different departments have different needs. Some of them they want sliding windows. I mean, this is what, based on the conversations we had. So how important is it to have a centralized system so that all the transaction windows look the same, or can there be a variation? Some of them have sliding windows, some of them have a fixed window that looks like a bank teller station. Just want to see if the committee has any preference.
I don't know. I guess my personal preference would be to I mean, I'm an engineer. I like things to be uniform.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess I go back to if there's compelling reasons to do things differently. That's my thought. I don't know. So you've gotten different, just, let me just repeat what I think I heard you say. You've gotten differing requests from the various departments in terms of how they want the look and feel of the transaction counters to be?
Right, and I did tell them that the committee can overrule.
Yeah,
That I mean,
great. Thanks, Tom.
Veto power.
No, I want to see what works best, but at the same time, I didn't push hard and say if somebody wants a sliding window, but because there will be big boxes or something that got moves across the counter, that might make sense. So I didn't really push too hard. I was more in a listening mode. So I just
Yeah, I
wanted
get
to
it.
see if we do want, which I agree. I mean, I'd rather have a consistent look, and but we just want to have a dialogue with everybody at this point.
Okay. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I'm sorry. I'm not chiming in on the conversation, but I do notice that Michael Ray just left and I need to go for planning at 6:30.
Okay.
Which is gonna leave us at quorum.
Okay.
And I have a 6:30 also, but I'll stay on if I need to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And you got me on Thursday with AgCom too, but I've got more time. That doesn't start till 7. So
Okay. All
I'll
right.
see you guys Thursday.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dave, and then,
Yeah, I was gonna chime in on the service window discussion
No.
there, and I think
No.
the new normal may be advantageous to have them all solid with just pass-through openings. And if there's boxes that need to go from the office area to the common area outside, it's going to have to go through the office doors. I just see too many opportunities to override safety with sliding windows being left open and things like that. And we don't know how long or what regulations are going to stay in place forever, or at least for the number of years down the road. So I don't know. I look at it that way and think that the solid in place and doing them all the same makes more sense to me.
I agree with that also. Keep them consistent. It'll be a clean look. And if we're going to try to base windows on the employees that we have at the moment in those positions, well, that could change tomorrow. So we should do what we think as a committee is best for consistency and for security, like Dave said. And if it means change where they're going to have to walk a box around into a doorway, then times have changed. You're in a new building,
go ahead, Brian.
Thanks. Yeah, I say I would go back to what the architect, have them go back to them and make sure that would be okay. If we're all going whatever mode it is, that we make sure that they're actually going to be able to use that. And it's going to be user friendly for whatever. And like Greg had said earlier, that if they really need this particular type of window because of their transactions, then that makes the most sense. I just also wanted to add too, I think we lost our quorum.
Yeah.
Brian, me, oh, we did. Awesome. All right. Well, we
I
had
can I'm sorry.
intended to have a meeting, and I posted it for the Thursday. And I think the intention of that meeting is to really discuss, kind of have a working session almost with the committee only, not the architects, to kind of drill down on some of this stuff so that we could get them some feedback in advance of our next meeting, which won't be until sometime in the beginning of January. So does that, in light of this, it seems like that's a we should keep that plan. Does anybody, Brian or Dave, have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think we should definitely keep that Thursday meeting and
Yeah.
we may have to expand into more discussion than we had planned on. I personally think, now correct me if you guys feel differently, that as long as we don't debate information that Tom and Ed give to us, if they want to finish their presentation, I don't think that's an issue, as long as we don't further discuss it. But that's, how do you guys feel?
Well, personally, for me, I want to be really conservative on that issue. So
Okay.
I think you're right. But right now we can't even accept a motion to adjourn. So
So we'll just keep meeting until Thursday until they.
we'll keep the meeting open until-
Yeah.
I think we should not, I don't think I get that it's recorded and I get that Brian is doing a stellar job with minutes so that our members that aren't here can bring themselves up to speed. But I just, with the intent of a quorum is to have a quorum, to have a majority of the board present talking about stuff. And I think that's what we should do. So I hate to cut you off, Tom, but I feel like we should probably, and what we'll do is we'll kind of take up this questionnaire and or anything else that you might want us to talk about on Thursday and try to get you some guidance on that by, say, the end of the week. Does that seem good?
So I would, may I suggest either that I join for the first 30 minutes to just explain the rest of the documents, because I
That's
really
fine.
want to talk about the toilets.
Okay, that's fine.
So, and also, one thing I haven't, I know this is off the record, there's a couple of documents I just need to explain, like a project sheets and also, I was really excited about some of the images that we put together for the entries. So I want to have a chance to explain the rationale.
Okay,
Some of these.
and do we have those, Tom? Is that, or,
I did not send, I was
Okay.
going to explain this before I send it, but I can, after this meeting, I will email.
yeah,
There was a couple documents I didn't send, so.
that would be good. And then I get that you want to explain it, but at least if it's not unfamiliar to us at the Thursday meeting, then we can have a better, we can track with you a little bit closer, I think. So,
Yeah, so we will do that after this meeting.
all right.
Hoping to touch base, maybe I joined Tom too. I wanted to go over the traffic study real briefly for the committee, just to let everyone know how it went and some of the findings. I also think it's important that this go to the DPW because I think it will help them with a lot of their street repair and sidewalk repair work in the future.
Yeah. Heather forwarded that to our DPW director this afternoon. So,
Oh, good.
okay, well, that's fine then. So why don't we'll plan on having the both of you for the first part of the meeting. And then the committee will continue and hammer out some of the questions. That sound reasonable, Brian and Dave?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay. Greg,
So,
I'm gonna, seeing as we're ending, I'm gonna bail and head into my other meeting. I'll see everybody on Thursday.
yeah, I guess we just adjourn.
Yeah.
Really take a motion, so we're just going to adjourn.
Right. We
So,
adjourned due to lack of quorum.
Yeah, I'll make a point to say that. Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
All right, I think we're done.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, we try to do these meetings early because I know that everybody has stuff late in the day and it's just, I'm sorry I have to cut you off. So late in the evening, I should say later in the evening. So I guess we are going to adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting for anybody watching is this coming Thursday, the 17th at 5:30. The agenda is posted on the website. And, the Zoom link is available on the agenda. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.